I wish you all a great evening full of mindful learning. I extend a hearty welcome to our most benevolent chairman, sir, honorable director, sir, dignified director, madam, respected principals, distinguished vice principals, laudable ACOs, beloved teachers, and my dear students. On this evening, I feel proud and highly privileged to welcome everyone to this program. Today, we are blessed with many renowned personalities who are going to enrich us with their experience and knowledge. First and foremost, our esteemed chief guest, Mr. Michael M. Joseph. He is an academic dean for undergraduate vocational program. He is a BA in economics, sociology, political science at St. Joseph's College of Arts and Science, Bangalore. He has also taken diploma with a specialization in film direction, Film and Television Institute of India, Pune. Moreover, he has worked as an academic consultant to the Film and Television Institute of India, Pune, to reformulate and revise the curriculum for both the film and television beats. He has also worked as a freelance filmmaker, documentary training, corporate advertisement, short fiction, dance, product. He has also founded and coordinated the film course for undergraduate professional program as head department of independent media. Moreover, he has also worked extensively in the field of medical education with special emphasis on the psychosocial aspects of Hansen's disease, where he began his experiments with using small format video in a participatory approach with health workers and social children. I heartily welcome you, sir. Next, I would like to
thank you very much. Honored to be here.
Very welcome, sir. Next, I extend a cordial welcome to Mrs. Rustam Vania, Academic Dean Final Year Undergrad for the undergraduate students. He holds a Bachelor of Fine Arts, BFA, with an area of practice in editorial science. He has worked as a creative communication designer for 3 decades with a special interest in creating popular media, print and digital, on science and the environment, and creating magazine, books, exhibitions, websites, games for non-profits, international development agencies, and government agencies and publishers. I'm extremely honored to have the chance to welcome such a great personality to this prestigious moment. I heartily welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you, sir. Next, I accord a warm welcome to U.S. Ramesh Kalkar, Dean of Foundation Studies for Undergraduate Professional Program. Mr. Ramesh holds a diploma in Fine Arts, Kent School of Art, Bangalore, post-diploma in Painting, Faculty of Fine Art, and MS University, Baroda. And he is also an MA in Painting, Royal College of Art, London. He has taught at the master's level, Karnataka Chitrakala Parishad, Bangalore, and coordinated a scenography project. Currently, he practices visual literacy, body and context, public art, site-specific works, and Shrishti Manipal. I heartily welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also welcome Mr. Murli Chirot, Creative Director of Velamal Art Project. My thanks in full measure and my hearty welcome goes to Mr. Bivesh, HOD of Chitravati Center for Creativity, all the chief guests, well-wishers, and my beloved parents and all the teachers. I heartily welcome you all to this prestigious event. Finally, to all my fellow students, I say we have miles and miles to go before we sleep. I'm sure this will be an eye-opener for many of us. Once again, I welcome you all. Welcome, welcome one and all. Thank you.
Before we go into the session again, I think we missed out on 2 major people again. I would take the privilege to welcome Mr. Neeraj. Thank you, Neeraj, for coming here and your presence here. And Seema ma'am, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we would now start the session formally. Like I think we are starting with Mike.
With Mr. Rustam Vania.
Rustam, yeah, sorry. Yeah. We'll start with Rustam. Rustam, yeah, go.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's a real pleasure and delight to be here, particularly with a very young audience. And thank you so much for all the organizers for having organized this event and inviting us. And I think uh, my task, let's just, we have about 40 minutes or so. I will be sort of just broadly laying the foundation for you to understand what art and design means in our lives. What does it mean to study it formally? And who is a potential professional artist or a design practitioner? And what kinds of work do they do? And then I will hand it over to my colleagues Ramesh and Mike, who will run you through all the kinds of educational opportunities that exist within Shrishti Manipal Institute of Art, Design and Technology. And then we will open the floor, and which is the most important part of the evening, which is listening from you and all the questions and expectations and queries that you may have. We're very happy to take them and try and answer them so that even in this short session, you go back more enlightened about this fascinating field of creative practitioners. So first, uh, one of the interesting things about art and design is that it is innate in every human being. In many ways, all of us, every human being ever born on this planet, is born an artist and a designer. And I don't say it lightly, I say it seriously. Uh, Even if you were to take what every one of us does is an act of design or some kind of an artistic act in our everyday lives. And I think let's recognize that first and let's appreciate that before we look at it more in terms of a formal training and learning and getting into the field and becoming a professional. All of us are amateur artists and designers, especially students. If you just think about it, let's say you are sitting, you have some workspace, some desk, whether at school or at home, more a personal desk space, which will be most likely at home. You'll find that, and you just observe it carefully. Is it organized? Is it messy? Is it personalized? Have you put objects there that have meaning for you? Have you put things up in your wall? Just look around your room and you will suddenly realize that a lot of you is expressed of who you are, what you like, what you feel fond of, what you don't like, uh, is already beginning to show itself in the simple act of arranging a desk or a room. That is an act of design. That is you expressing yourself as some sort of an interest in some aesthetic. So both it's functional and it also has some aesthetic reasoning or thinking behind it. Why did you choose to put that particular kind of a object on your table? Why did you choose to put that particular image or poster or your own drawings up? What is it that attracts you about it? And if you step out, you're still within your home. One is your personal effects. Look at all the things that you are wearing. Why do you like that t-shirt and that jeans and not the other one? What is it that you find appealing about it? What is it about this watch? Why did I buy this watch and not that watch? These are all unconscious, innate decisions that we take in a very subconscious, almost unthinking manner. That's because it's a involuntary act. Then if you just look around your room and see, and if your parents or if of your children, when you have parents in your own homes, every home we will do some kind of design artistic choices. We will choose that print, we will want that color on the wall. We also will want a home. A kitchen is a very interesting space to see where many aspects of art and design come together. One of the first things about kitchen is that it's also an aesthetic experience, not just a functional experience. We like the kitchen because nice smells come from there, good food comes from there. If indeed you have a space outside the kitchen or near it or in it where you sit and socialize, eating food is an aesthetic act. And it's not just functional, just to survive when I'm hungry and I eat. People come together. It's a cultural thing that you do. So all our homes, whether it's functional, whether it's utilitarian or non-utilitarian, always will have some aspect of art and design that we all do on an everyday basis. The only difference being that some people either have certain innate capacities or they learned it and they became professionals. And I think that's the only difference. So you have the whole world is amateur artists and designers, every one of us. Some of us choose to spend time, study it, become proficient in it, become competent in it, and some people even go ahead to make vocations and careers out of it. So I think that's the first thing that we should appreciate, that all of us are artists and designers. So one of the things which often we are asked questions, particularly by parents and even by aspiring students, is how do you define this field? Now that's both an interesting question and a complicated question to answer. Because let's start with art. They overlap, art and design. They often have common things which they deal with, but they're also very distinct. Artists are, and if you look at the first graphic lines made by any human being on a piece of bone or stone or a cave painting was essentially an artistic act. And ever since then, art has been very much part of our lives. So art is essentially making meaning and expressing that to make sense of the world around us and to ask questions about it and to get others to appreciate this exploration of what you're doing. Who am I? Where am I? What is this? And it's almost like philosophy in many ways. So it's a very fundamental thing that art is. Design is a little more about helping find solutions to problems. So, for instance, have you all, you will notice design a lot in your life, which you may not even think is design. Usually, design is something very obvious. People think that that is design. So they would say, okay, that graphic sort of design I saw on that particular facade of that building or wall is design, or that fashion design is design. Or I saw some graphic design done in a book or magazine or something, and I think that's what design is. That's only the aesthetic front end part. But if you observe it a little more carefully, you will begin to see amazing number of places that design exists. So a lot of us buy bottled water, okay, and we sort of, and it's a ubiquitous thing now. Once upon a time when I was a kid, there was no bottled water. Now everyone is buying bottled water. But let's just look at the bottle. And if you notice, they're shaped in a certain way. In the middle of bottled water, there'll be a depression, or there'll be some ribs, or there'll be like grooves in the plastic bottle. And that's for a very utilitarian purpose, because you have to hold that bottle. And that's why a designer has said that if I want to make the grip easy for that bottle and not slip out of someone's hand, plastic can be slippery, I am creating these bumps or grooves or depressions so that it's easy to. Now, there are terms that we use in design, like let's say interaction design. And where do we encounter interaction design? We are encountering it right now, because the screens that we are using, the keyboards that we are doing, and that's all some kind of interaction designed specifically for a purpose to achieve some end. What professional designers do is they train themselves in order to achieve all these, try and find a better solution to the past one. So often some designers say that design is about taking something which is at a position A to improve it and to make it to go to position B. It could be a process, it could be a product, it could be anything. Of course, technology now plays a far greater role in our lives and is determining a lot of things that we see around us. But this act of both art and design that I was talking about, amateur and even as professional, has always existed. And Interaction design, we use the term interaction design for when we use digital technologies. But if you're holding a cup in your hand and you observe the cup, you see if it has a handle, that handle has been created in order for you to hold the cup and then to use it. So the handle is the interaction between the cup and you. So there's no difference between the handle of a cup and the computers you use, or because after all, all that the designers are doing is making man-made objects to do something useful for us. And everywhere when we look around, you will find it. The chair you are sitting on right now, the computers you are using, the phone that I'm using, the clothes that I'm wearing, the earphone that I have, my specs, my shoes, my clothes, everything, my charger, everything is a human-made object. And there are designers behind this who are doing it. So suddenly this world of design is ubiquitous. It's all around us. It's everywhere. And it'll be interesting for you to do that. One way for you to appreciate what people do, so there is one thing which designers do is make things, okay, objects or set of objects. The other thing which is there is telling stories or making a piece of communication, and we try and communicate something. But an object could tell a story, or a piece of communication could direct you and make you appreciate an object. So in the storytelling part, our designers who are very good at putting together some kind of media, storytellers, filmmakers, mass media production, television, publishing, illustration, graphic design, book design, magazine design, uh, website design. All this is people who do work in media or do some kind of storytelling or the other. And then you have the world of people who make things. They make objects. They may make a computer, they may make a phone, they may make specs, they may make shoes, they may make anything. Your carpet, your curtain, your interiors, your architecture, your facades, anything. And a lot of the time, these two things have to work together. Today, I may have computers and engineers and folks who produce, let's say, good phones, or they produce a computer that works. But why is it that you go and buy a Samsung and an iPhone or Apple or whatever? And that's because there is someone else who is packaging that, who is creating a communication design that is branding it and making you feel that that is better than that. All computers do the same thing. All the engineers have done their jobs and they've gone home and said, hey, look, my computer works. Please use it. Or this is a good business, please buy this, what I've done. But then it's the marketing people, the branding people who create stories and you emotionally connect to it. And it goes back to that first thing which I said, which is why is it that you choose to wear what you do? Why is it that you choose to have that particular kind of object or interior in your house, and why do you make these decisions? And we do that all the time in a very, very subconscious, unconscious. And so at Shrishti, the name itself, and then I'll hand it over to Mike and Ramesh, who will run you through what opportunities exist for learning in this sector. At Shrishti, the name itself will give you a clue. It's called Shrishti Manipal Institute of Art, 1, 2, Design, and Technology. So if you look at these three things, all three of these are separate. It's like a stool, but yet they make a whole. And the whole thing stands on these three areas, and each one interacts with the other in different ways. So you may enter from one stream, but at Shrishti, it's very interdisciplinary. All artists and designers have a very wide, broad appreciation and understanding of the way things are and the world works, and understand before they select a certain specific thing to do. I am very good with camera. I like taking photographs. That's what I do very well. Or I draw and illustrate very well. And I don't want to be a fine artist, but I do illustrations, I do graphic design. Or you could say, the person would be, no, I am a true artist, and my way of self-expression, what I want to do and be, is to be an artist. Someone will say, no, I'm good at, so often people ask this question at Shrishti, do I need to know how to draw very well, or do I need to have some artistic portfolio before I can join and become a professional artist or designer? No. Everyone need not have that level of craftsmanship skills or drawing skills. Some people may come in with computation technology ability, and they apply that creatively. So instead, in fact, there is one course at Shrishti which is called creative coding, which is that you do creative coding in order to get expressive results. And people, they're much in demand. Because every coder need not be a creative coder. So you could be a technologist, you could be an artist, you could be someone who's interested in social environmental issues. There's a broad range of people who will come in to an institute like Shrishti. So I'll stop here just to open up the discussion and the possibilities of how you imagine what is art and design, so that you look at it in a much more broader way. And hopefully it's useful for you. And when you ask questions, we'll take it up later. So Mike and Ramesh, I invite them to just run you through how we are organized, what are the kinds of opportunities that exist, and what kind of students come to us, and what is it the student experience is in Srishti. Mike and Ramesh, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot. I'll quickly go over some of the courses offered. And first of all, thanks for coming, all of you. And as Rustam said, we always enjoy talking to your age group. I mean, I was telling Mr. Srinath that talking to 9th standard to 12th standard students is always great because they have lots of interesting new ideas. So welcome to the session, and then I also thank all the organizers behind this event. So now I quickly, as Rustam really broadly laid out the entire process of really trying to see why I have to be a designer and what makes me a designer. Both he kind of put it, he had put it down. So I quickly share the screen. See, the idea, I mean, I'm not going to repeat too much about the courses. We are not going to talk too many things about courses because it's already there on the website. But the interesting part of coming to Srishti, this is one of the questions asked by many people saying, okay, there are many design schools, why do I have to come to Srishti? You're coming to Srishti for the kind of ecosystem that you get. Because we offer undergraduate, postgraduate, and doctoral program, and they all kind of work together. You bump into each other, and also you have to look at, if you can go to our website and look at kind of courses offered under masters and under undergraduate courses are quite varied, and they are diverse as well. So I mean, I'm not going to focus now on postgraduate because that's later. But
Ramesh, sorry to interrupt, can you make it full screen?
Sorry?
Can you make it full screen?
Yeah. So so you should, when you have time, you should look at even the postgraduate courses. There's earth education, there's design and intervention, public space project, or documentary filmmaking. So the courses are varied, and it does influence you because all of you undergraduate, postgraduate students are in one ecosystem. So within undergraduate course, within the 4-year program, you already know that we offer 4-year program, we offer 3-year program. There are 2 different programs within the undergraduate. So if you look at even 4-year program, as again the Rustum outlined, there is human-centered design. Maybe it talks about humanness in the design. In a simple way, I can put it across as UI and UX, user interface, user experience, which again Rustum talked about, versus creative and applied computation, maybe using computation and coding, programming creatively, versus business service system design, looking at systems and services, versus animation, filmmaking, painting, sculpture, looking at space design. So all of you are in one space. The best part of Srishti is the diversity of courses. diversity within the faculty community. I mean, you can imagine if we offer business services to system design, then we need to have a different kind of faculty versus people who are teaching painting and drawing, maybe, or people who are teaching animation. So as Rustam pointed out, there are people from technology sector, there are people who are designers, there are facilitators or faculty who are artists or mathematicians, philosophers. So that's the kind of overall student experience you get by coming to Srishti, because you are with the bunch of students who are doing a different kind of courses. Now, can I leave it to Mike to just quickly outline the BWalk courses?
Yeah. So first of all, the bachelor vocation is a 3-year program, and we offer 6 courses. Now, you might be wondering why does one institute offer 2 types of undergraduate programs? And to get into that would mean that we have to sort of take cognizance that different people learn different things in different ways. Some of the greatest filmmakers never went even to a film school. They learned it on their own. They apprenticed with people, with master filmmakers, and learned their craft. So different people learn in different ways. And if you look at it that way, the 2 programs that we offer here, the undergraduate professional program, which is a 4-year program which leads to a Bachelor of Design or a Bachelor of Fine Arts, and the 3-year program, which we call the technical or the skill-based vocational program, which is a 3-year program which leads you to the award of a Bachelor of Vocation. Now, I would just like to spend a moment on just, accenting on what is characteristic of the 3-year program, which makes it different and which suits a particular type of learner. The first thing I think that is really important to understand is that there is a huge disconnect between the places of higher learning or the higher education system and what the workplace demands. If you go to any company, a person who comes in as a fresh recruit, although they have a string of degrees behind their names, still needs to be oriented and brought into the work ethos of that particular company, and therefore this sort of disconnect, I'm not saying it's everywhere. Actually, in a lot of the professional programs, that disconnect is much less, but it is still there in terms of what is the educational academy offering and what is the relevance of that education within the world of work, which is a natural space that any learner, all of you will now transit from school to college to work, So this is a natural direction and flow, which we cannot discount. We can't go backwards. So the Bachelor Vocation program looks at this, and to try and make this transition from the place of learning to the place of work a little more seamless. I mean, for me, when I passed out of the Film Institute in Pune 35 years back, it was pretty traumatic to come into the real world because the institute at Pune was like an oasis, and it had to be that, because it had to be that embryonic sort of space where I could take creative risk, where I could explore, fall on my face. But by falling on my face, I learned much more than if I played it safe. So it had to be that, but it was radically different from the world outside in terms of values, in terms of, the way in which people transacted. It took me a lot of time to come to terms to that. And that has happened to many people. Here, we're trying to say that, okay, definitely let's create this embryonic space, this safe place to experiment, to explore, to take creative risk. But let us also have one foot in the real world outside to understand what exactly are we going to go into, you know? And to do that, we have tried to embed the whole 3-year program in what we call a work-based learning model, which means that a substantial amount of your learning will happen in the real world of work. And to do this, we endorse our programs by various sector skill councils. Each industry sector has a sector skill council which tries to understand what are the needs in terms of trained professionals, in terms of infrastructure, to try and chart out the journey of these different industry sectors. So Rustam outlined all the areas that he talked about are all different industry sectors within a larger gambit of what we call the creative industries. And there is an economy that runs around this creative industry. So these sector skill councils become a barometer for us to wet our syllabuses, to try and understand, they're able to tell us what is needed within the real world. Not to say that we are subservient to them, but we take cognizance of it and we embed curriculum modules or aspects of curriculum into our syllabus, so that it has a fine, it gets expended. Knowledge is not something that you acquire or get and then store in a cupboard like a fixed deposit and never open it up. Only when you retire, probably you chip into it. No, what we learn today needs to be expended tomorrow and needs to be used. And a second aspect of what we're trying to do is, to do this, we need to get into a whole thing with industry partners and create a network that is much beyond just the academic institution. So the network stretches out and includes a lot of industry partners. It gives students a huge exposure in terms of the world outside. I have seen, the program is pretty new. This year will be the first batch that graduates from the Bangalore campus. And I have watched these students over the last 3 years, and I have seen them transformed after they come back after their second year of apprenticeship, which is a 3-month module inside industry. There's something different about them. The way they look at their discipline is different. The way they talk to you is different. And that is coming because of sensing what the world outside is, which is very different from the world of school or college. But that does not mean that we are just catering to a mass production sort of space. No, we're trying to address the creative calling of each of our students, and we're trying to guide them to realize their own capacities and aspirations, so that they become meaning makers, active meaning makers, and their own individual identity is accentuated. Now, the 6 courses that we offer, which is the slide. Sorry, Ramesh, I went off on a small thing. The 6 slides that Ramesh had put up. And this slide basically talks about the 6 programs that we offer. So creative manufacturing is a very interesting program which looks at the notion of manufacturing from a very different way. It's moving against a current trend that is there of mass production, of using synthetic material, of mechanization of very technology dependent. Not to say that we need to go, we need not to go. I mean, we need to avoid that totally. We cannot. We are at a certain historical point of time where we cannot change that. But we also need to understand that there are other modes of production which are coming from the handmade, which are coming from using natural fibers, which are coming from a tradition of indigenous knowledge, which is not even there in the, in the corridors of academia, which come from the craftspeople. And this particular course situates itself in that space and tries to look at the notion of entrepreneurship also, and to have an understanding of the business of design, not just to be a designer, but be able to understand the nitty-gritties of running a business around design. And they have two pathways. One is products and apparels, and the second is from textiles and made-ups. It draws very much from all the craft traditions. It also tries to look at empowering craft communities, and bringing them into a market economy. The second course is interiors design and build. Now, a lot of you might wonder, what's that "and build" written there? It's usually just interior design. So the "and build" comes into the play because as an interior designer, I will design something, and then when the design is ready, then I'll usually give it out to a contractor who will build it. So this particular course, also because it is a vocational course, enables the learner to take on the whole production process from designing and actually realizing that design by being able to build it. Now, to build it, to design it is one thing. To build it means that you need to understand materials and processes, not just the aesthetics and ergonomics of design. So it has that aspect also. User interface and interaction engineering. We all know the importance of the screen, and more so in these times of the pandemic, how it is thing. But even without the pandemic, the idea of interaction, which, as Rustam said, could be about the handle of a cup to, an optic fiber going through your body and smashing a gallstone or something like that, The next one is graphic art and design practice, which is a very a common choice, I would say, for a lot of students. And we have two pathways there. One is in terms of illustration, and the other is in terms of graphic design per se. Digital media production is a course that looks at VFX, animation, and game design and development. And as you know, VFX today, I think it's going to stop being called an effect, because it's more than an effect now. It is probably going to become a very important narrative tool for filmmakers to manipulate the digital image. And that too, not within just the realm of the fantastical or the animated, but also within the realm of the real. If you look at Rustam's background, it's coming from a composite, and because we see him against those large valleys and fields, because he loves the Himalayas, but because we see him sitting there, automatically our perception of what he says also changes in some ways because of the image that surrounds it. And then, of course, the last one is digital filmmaking. At the moment, we offer two courses. One is direction and editing, and the other is cinematography. There are two more pathways which we should be opening up next year. We've not offered them this year, and those are production design, which is a relatively new area in India. The idea of production within the filmic process has always been there, but the idea of the production designer, which is more than just the art department in a film production, is a relatively new concept, but is gaining ground and a lot of possibilities. And the last one is sound recording and design, which again is a very important part. Just to say, like what Rustam started with in terms of design being everywhere and everyone is a designer. which is a very lovely book by Enzio Manzini. I think what has changed also is, as he said, the fact that you consciously take a decision to choose a profession. What also has changed, I think, is a certain acceptability or a certain visibility that has come to art and design over the last, for me, I've been seeing it over the last 25 years, and it is very different. It's almost become, I sometimes joke and say, the new engineering, and there is a cognizance now of what art and design can contribute towards a much more humane world. So I think I'd like to stop there. And Ramesh, would you like to?
Ramesh, Mike, I thought since time is short, we can let the audience ask us questions.
I think, yeah, as
and
usual.
Then we can continue
on
the basis of what you all would like to know about the field, about the education, learning part, or even just a general thought or question that you have in mind.
Yeah,
so if you can type it, the question can be typed in. We can, I understand, Srinath said that we can even possibly take some live questions also.
Exactly.
So Srinath, if you can also just help us moderate both the chat questions and the live questions.
Yes, for sure, Ristam. So children, if you have any doubts on the field of design or with the session or with Shrishti, kindly please post in your doubts in the chat box so that the panel can answer you. I would read out,
or raise your hand and Srinath can
I can
give you access to the mic and allow you to speak and unmute you.
So I mean, to just warm up, I have two that were sent to me.
Okay.
One just says graphic design. So the person who asked that, maybe they could expand on that if they raise their hand and they could add to that question. So Vinay, that was Sai Vinay.
Sai Vinay, can you please raise your hand? Yeah, I'm asking you to unmute, Sai Vinay. You can detail your question. Yes.
Sir, I have doubt in graphic art design.
Okay, what is your doubt in that? You want to know what is graphic art design?
Yes, sir. Can you tell the fine definition for that?
Mike, take that one. How do you define graphic design? It's a good question.
Why is a graphic designer making me answer a question about Rustam is a graphic designer and graphic artist?
Okay, so I think it's a great question.
I pass it back to you.
It's a great question because often we do confuse between what is, say, fine art or art, illustration, graphic design. Graphic design is more an industrial term in the sense that it's largely done for mass consumption in industry. So let's say I see a graphics design. All of us watch television, right? And we watch news all the time. Now, if there's an information graphic, a map or a piece of information that someone has put picture, text, numbers, etc., or graphs, charts, or a magazine that you read, or a book that you open a cover of a book, these are all industrial needs. And the market requires people to make an advertisement, to make a packaging, to make branding, some kind of visual communication tool, and that needs graphics. It needs typography and image. So that's what is a graphic designer. But then you have an illustrator who only does illustrations, maybe for a book or even for an advertising campaign or a comic book, etc. Those are comic artists or illustrators and authors in that sense. So yeah, graphic design has multiple applications in different media. If I design a website, that is also an act of graphic design. Yeah. So I have to somehow arrange some kind of text and image in some form. And lots of jobs available in graphic design. That's why Mike, if you remember, Mike said it's one of his most popular courses.
I think the interesting thing that has happened within that whole industry sector is also the fact that the mediums have expanded. Like what you just said, Rustam, that it's now just not paper and print. It could be a website. It could be an installation within an experiential space. It could be the wall, and it could be public art. You know, huge
the wall
mural.
of Decathlon, for instance.
Yeah,
Decathlon uses a lot of graphics and graphic design in there.
Yeah.
Great. So thank you for that, Rustam and Mike. Yeah. And children, if you have any more questions, please use the raise hand facility, or you can put it out in the chat box. So, any doubts, children? So, Mike, you said you had a couple of doubts in your chat.
Yeah, the second one is also got a disclaimer, which is a message that comes a little later, which says that if we can leave if we don't have a doubt. But but anyway, it's from Pratipa. Yeah. So is the technical program specific, sir? Yeah. So yeah, as I outlined, one thing that between the two undergraduate programs, there is a difference in the way it is taught. And it's, as I was trying to emphasize, that it's not about one being better than the other, but it's more about how people learn. And if you are a particular type of learner, you could probably decide which program to choose according to who you are and your disposition. So let me just very quickly try to give some indicator of what that could be. The professional program, which I think I would like Ramesh to talk about. Let me start with the technical program. The technical program, as I said, are six courses. And from day one, first of all, it's a 3-year program. And from day one, we jump into that particular discipline in whichever course in whichever course you have chosen. So if you have chosen filmmaking, from day one, we start with filmmaking. We start, of course, from the basics and the alphabet. So as Ramesh also pointed out, we are not looking at somebody. I mean, if you get 99%, fine, but we're not really looking for that. We're looking for people both from art and design, and but we're not asking for you to be a proficient artist or whether you can draw well or something like that when you come. Hopefully by the end of it, you might, or you might not choose to, because I know a lot of my students who are able to paint with a camera, but in terms of actually using their hand, they cannot. Okay. So getting back down to the 3-year program, it's very specific. You choose a particular course, and for 3 years, you immerse yourself into that, and you go really deep into that particular disciplinary area. Now, let me also tell you that 3 years or 4 years is not enough to study a discipline. I want one more lifetime to understand cinema, at least one more lifetime. I don't know, even with 2 lifetimes, whether I'll be able to. But it is because it's such a deep area where you need to, really spend time. And 3 years or 4 years is a very formative period, definitely, very critical period. But it takes, even today, all of us sitting on this panel are still learning new things. Every day I'm learning something new. The 4-year program, on the other hand, Ramesh?
I think you already outlined it. Basically, 4-year program follows the choice-based curriculum system, where year 1 is foundation, which is broad in nature, it's not discipline specific. Year 2 and 3 is a studio program where you can choose courses. It follows that major and minor combination. So the course you applied for will become your major, but you can also choose several minors offered by other courses. For example, if I've applied to creative writing, if that is my major, so that's some of the courses offered by creative writing I will do anyway. Maybe 40% of the courses offered by creative writing I'll do, but rest of the time, 20% apart from that, 40%, 20% of elective becomes a common elective, and where there are general studies and environmental exposure and performing arts and all that. And another 40% you can choose from courses offered by, let's say, visual communication or filmmaking or digital media art. So that's how the 4-year program pans out, in the sense that it tries to cover breadth. It gives you an option or choice to create your own portfolio by the end of four years. Yeah.
And
Could you
if there
just
are
say a few?
any
Sorry, Rustam.
students, sorry.
No, I was just asking Ramesh just to add to that. Like, why do we do that? Why do we uh, uh, create an educational space like that? Would you like to say something small about it?
No, as exactly as you said, that there are certain kind of learner who would like to jump into one particular area of interest and they want to kind of pursue that. Who I think we normally suggest them to join a 3-year program, because that's what it does. Whereas there are certain kind of learners who would like to kind of expand their practice in many different directions, and for them, I think 4-year program is an interesting program to opt for.
Anybody who raise their hands, Srinath can give you access to ask the question directly. You need not type it, you can ask directly. If they're parents, you're also welcome to ask questions.
So any parents, teachers or children in the group, if you want any questions to be asked, you can directly raise your hands and I can give you an unmute facility.
Also, Mr. Srinath, I must tell you that, they can go to our website. In our website, if you go to any particular course, we have put out a name and email ID of a person who's kind of running that course, heading that course, or who would have put the curriculum together. So they can either mail to admission, which can be a common mail, or they can mail to a specific person. For example, someone asks about graphic design. There is a name and an email ID. They can mail to them asking for more detail. But it would be great if the question is very specific, to say what exactly, how can I understand this? Where is if their question is where do I get job, or what kind of curriculum or what kind of courses I'll be doing. If the question is specific, it's easy for us to answer.
Understood, Mr. Ramesh. So, and again, we are children, you will also be receiving a kind of a feedback email after the session, wherein we will also mention the website address so that you can go and check as well. So all the students who have attended this session, you will get the website address, and of course it is presented on the screen also. It's Shrishti Manipal Institute.in.
So if you look
Yeah,
at
and if you look,
system service design, you can see that there's a person, Janak Mistry, who's heading that, who can answer your query.
So apart from that, students, if you have any queries to be asked right now, you can post it in the chat or please raise your hands. We will have another 5 minutes window. So please raise your hands and then we can entertain a few last minute questions. Okay.
So I must say, while we are waiting for question, I must say that in Srishti, as I pointed out earlier, there's diverse kind of courses, and people also, we get students from across India, and India from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. So you also, getting to know people from across the country with different cultural background. So that these are the interesting aspect of coming to Srishti. One is from across the board, from undergrad to PhD. On the other hand, across the country, people from different background coming and studying in one place. That's usually that is celebrated quite a lot from us by us.
and to add to it also, I think faculty, like we have from lawyers to architects to people, environmentalists to graphic designers, artists, filmmakers. So it's a very vibrant community. And as Ramesh said, it's when you sign up for a course, whether it is the 3-year course or the 4-year course, you're signing into an ecosystem, so a lot of learning happens outside of the classroom. You all must be experiencing that. The conversations that you have, while you're walking, taking an evening walk with your friends about things, that is what, that's where education is churned and where meaning is really made. The classroom is just one place, but actually the classroom extends into the city and into your life experience. So given that, this very eclectic sort of grouping of a community, and actually we call ourselves a community of learners, both faculty and students.
I think there's a question by Mr. Lalit.
Okay.
Okay.
There, I just saw.
Yeah,
it must have come to you.
We are not able to see it.
No, I can't.
Ramesh, yeah. Mr. Ramesh, you got the question on your side?
No, I didn't. I saw a hand.
Yeah, okay,
but
cool.
Then I don't think.
End off. Okay, no problems. So in that case, so are we at a good point to close? It's 5:58.
So you can connect with us anytime. They can even call us. Once you kind of send us a mail, then if you put down your number, if you want to talk to us, then we can call you. So, see, more than marketing per se, which we hardly do, and what we like is to tell the student, that age group, to say art and design is an interesting career option at the current situation where India is a growing economy, and I think it is an interesting option in terms of it's not just learning particular skill, but it's also investing yourself into the field. So a lot of our students do enjoy doing what they do. We constantly used to. We keep telling people that we don't have to motivate people when they come to Srishti because they're already motivated. Whereas, as opposed to some other courses, maybe they're forced to go and study or join engineering, or they're forced to do law or whatever. Whereas coming to design, 95% I would say are coming because they want to do art and design. So that's also an interesting environment to study.
Sure. That's good. So we have had a very interesting session, Mr. Ramesh, Rasam, Seema ma'am, Mike, I think so. Okay, yeah, all of you. Thanks a lot for joining us today, and thanks a lot for this wonderful session. So I would request Mr. Sujit, our admin director for the Velamal International School, to give the formal vote of thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Srinath.
So over to you.
The heart that gives thanks is a happy one, for we cannot feel thankful and unhappy at the same time. So my heartfelt thanks to our Honorable Chairman, Shri MVM Muthuramalingam Sir, respected Director, Shri MVM Sasikumar Sir, respected Director Ma'am, Srimati Geetanjali Sasikumar. We thank you for all the opportunities that you have paved for our students here at the Velamal Knowledge Park. Our sincere thanks to Mr. Murli Chirot, Creative Director, Velamal Art Project, for all your guidance, sir. Thank you, Mr. Bhivesh, Head of Chitravati Center for Creativity, Mr. Srinath, Head of Business Strategies. Today's session was full of knowledge and interesting things. It gave deep insight into design and also revealed some interesting facts about the courses at Shrishti. The points were really informative, and I'm pretty sure The precious knowledge that our speakers gave will definitely help our students in planning their studies and future. So thanks to our guests. I'd like to share my sincere gratitude to Ms. Seema and Mr. Nireth for helping us organize the session. Eminent speakers from Shrishti, Mr. Rustam, Mr. Ramesh, and Mr. Michael, thank you for your time. I place on account our sincere thanks to our senior leadership team here at VKP, teachers, parents, and my dear students for joining with us this evening. Dear students, believe in yourself, believe in your abilities. With belief, you can move mountains. Thank you, one and all. Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for
Thank you all.
inviting us.